All right, let's get this party started. We have our spices here. I'm going to explain all of this that's in front of you. First of all, what is an antioxidant, right? Antioxidant is, there's different classifications. Antioxidants are the compounds that inhibit or delay onset of oxidization and classified as natural or synthetic. The great sources are food preservation. They can be labeled as spices or natural flavors. Now the difference between spices and herbs, spices come from different parts of a plant other than leaves, while herbs comes from the leaf of a plant. Spices and herbs can be classified into various groups based on flavor, taste, taxonomy, part of the plant, where they came from. Based on the flavor, spices are classified into four. You have your hot, which is your black pepper and your white peppers, your cayenne, your mustard, your chilies. You have mild, so your black pepper here, right? Ground. Mild flavors such as paprika. You have coriander. Then you have the aromatic spices you might find in your baked goods, which is cloves. I even use cumin, not only in this. Look at this. I love chimichurri sauce. Awesome. Chimichurri sauce. It is so rich in antioxidants. It's ridiculous because, it's so awesome because it has your crushed red pepper. It has your coriander, and it has your cumin, right? And it has black pepper. I put a little cracked black pepper in mine with a squeeze of orange and lime and rice wine vinegar or apple cider vinegar is what I use with olive oil. Super awesome stuff. So with that said, you have the vegetables. So you have the aromatic herbs that I just described in that chimichurri, and that's thyme, basil, bay leaf, marjoram, shallot, onion, garlic. So that's where that garlic comes in, and super awesome, right? Spices and herbs, they can be flowering. So if you ever see like basil, they flower, right? Spices and herbs are natural sources of flavors and colors, and they've been used for medicinal purposes for forever, for a long time. I mean, the Egyptians use it for mummification and medicinal purpose for a very long time, and not to mention it preservative in food. Now, oxidative rancidity occurs when fat or oils, lipid-containing foods undergo oxidization. So I explain this like in a smoke point. So oils have a smoke point, right? So then it begins to oxidize, and then it oxidizes the cell within your body. That is important to understand because we have rancidity. Now we also have ketones and alcohols, right? Impart the harsh flavors and odors that render food inedible and are rejected by consumers, right? Several studies have demonstrated that spices and herbs such as rosemary, sage, and oregano, okay, your sage over here, rosemary, help with, have high antioxidant activities. So spices that have antioxidant compounds, we have cloves, ginger, mace, marjoram, nutmeg, oregano, red pepper, rosemary, sage, sesame seed, turmeric, thyme. And there is a chart, and it's called a DPPH, and I will give the description of the DPPH, of what the chemical what that strand actually is, the long strand. It's a radical savaging. So there you go, it's savages. So cloves being your highest, then it's thyme, rosemary, savory, then you have oregano. Oregano I put in chimichurri, right? We have basil, great in our marinaras, Italian dishes. Cumin, all right? Cumin I put in chimichurri. We also have, it's a caraway, not pictured here. Coriander in chimichurri. Marjoram, turmeric, and we also have it, so you also have turmeric in powder, ground, or in the root form. which you have either one of those. All right. Now, from there we have Mace and Fennel, not pictured here. It is DPHH is another measurement based on reducing ability of antioxidants towards a regent. Basically, what it does is that the percentage after the reaction of it remains high. So cloves, it keeps fighting. It's amazing. So we want to look at that. So with this, preserving foods, extracts, and essential oils have been used for a long time to naturally preserve. Other natural preservatives that we see, sugar and salt, all right? But those are also, where they can be good, they can also not be good. And we want to utilize as much of this as possible. Now, there is something called phenolic, and it is going to be your allspice, basil, bay leaves, black pepper, cardamom, and celery. Like that, right? Oregano, thyme, rosemary, they are high amounts of these compounds. Well, what is it exactly? Well, you have FPs, which are not good, they're free. And then you have the other, which what these guys are, what they do is they bind together and they entrap with other macromolecules, and the BPs are what they are called are bound phenolics. So BPs possess a strong therapeutic for antioxidant, anti-inflammation, anti-cancer, anti-obesity, anti-diabetic, anti-mugenic, probiotic, and very super awesome on the nervous system. And with that, you have allspice, basil, bay leaves, black pepper, cardamom, celery, right? Then we want to look like, what does this mean exactly? Because the FPs are the ones that are found in dyes, all right? And basically they don't interact. They're so free, they just don't even interact with other molecules, and not cool. So they're in food preservatives, food dyes, bioactives. So it's the very opposite of what the BPs are. And with that, it's the very opposite of what you want to see and the effects, which is also, they can also be used for fertilizers, textiles, paints, rubbers, plastics, etc. that you see in others. So the freezer, what that is. So we wanted to make sure that we are taking in more of the BPs. And just to give you an idea, I'm very big on this because now I'm going to talk about the sugars. Now, moving over, I'm just going to move my camera over just a little bit here, and we're going to move our direction. I have molasses here, which is high in iron, and I have some tamarind, which is also, so we're going to talk about low glycemic foods and low glycemic sugars and how to make that. Like, how do you make brown sugar? Brown sugar is literally a cup of sugar to a tablespoon of molasses, and you marry it together and you make brown sugar. Darker the sugar, the ratio of molasses is higher to 2 tablespoons, say, to the cup of sugar. So that's the difference between light and dark. Now, this is monk fruit, and monk fruit is a glycemic index of 4, where tamarind is 23. So you see the difference, and so whereas sugar, your regular sugar, if you will, processed sugar, terrible. It is more like around above 50. So we're looking at like 55 and up. You have a glycemic index, and its glycemic load is 60, 65, yeah. So it sucrose can be about 55, and then it goes, it's up, 65, and so we want to make sure that we are watching out for yogurts that have the fruit in them. So that contains sugar, and the fruit, that's added sugar, that's going to have a higher amount. But how we pair things with the sugar to decrease it, to slow down the sugar. So what we want to do is we want to take that basically that semi truck that's going through the arterial wall of speeding like a Ferrari, and it's like opening, closing, the arterial wall, causing plaque. That's why heart disease and diabetes go hand in hand and should be treated simultaneously. That way you are really, they're the same. But at the end of the day, they're not the same, but they are the same. You should handle them as if you had both, if you will. So you want to incorporate the antioxidants that we talked about just a minute ago, and into your daily regimen, because it also will burn fat too. So antioxidants, the spices I just talked about, will burn fat, burn belly fat. Now, monk fruit is a little expensive, but it's so sweet. Monk fruit comes from, it's indigenous to like Cuba, but it is, so this is what I like to say with fruits. Closer to the equator, the less sugar, the more fiber. So papaya, monk fruit, mango, those guys, right? Guava, little dudes. You will find that they have lower glycemic index. And if you hear my stomach growling, I'm pretty hungry. I've been doing videos all morning. So we have that. So a banana is high in fiber, right? And so we have to also look at its glycemic load. People are like, but it's a fruit. I can't have it. Okay, now with a banana is around 10. All right, it's a fruit, but it's a good glycemic load here. All right, super important to understand that. Our fruits that are lower, so you have grapefruit, which is 25, you have an apple, which is 38. You have an orange that's 44, but I recommend watching those portions. So a portion is about half of that. See how that fits in my hand? And your fruit should fit in the very palm of your hand. So you watch the portion in which you have. So that portion has a lot to do. You don't eat a whole pineapple and be like, because the pineapple has a glycemic load of 66. What? Slow your horses down there, buddy, because it's a little much. Now, you want to not eat a whole mango. You don't want to, I eat half of an apple, right? Half of a grapefruit, a quarter of a grapefruit. I remember growing up, my mom would we'd have grapefruit for breakfast, and that was our breakfast. You just ate half of a grapefruit, and on your way. Whereas in the low-fat dairy, so I have a 0% here, so this is going to be about 14 on the glycemic index. What, if anyone's questioning the glycemic index, what is it? It measures how fast the body turns blood sugar into an energy. Now, if you, so there's high amounts, so it's how quickly the food can raise the blood sugar, your glucose, which is the blood sugar. And foods like oil, meats, and fats, they don't have a glycemic index. We're only talking about those that can actually contain sugars, carbohydrates, excuse me. So we want to watch that takes an effect. You might be hyperglycemic, hypoglycemic, diabetes 1, 2. You just want to really watch anyways. And even as an athlete, watching the sugars, because what the sugars do, if you don't utilize them, they actually turn into fat and get in between the muscles. So then you start having some other issues. So let's just keep it simple, right? Right? So that's how you make molasses, and how you slow down sugars is with fat This is a coconut oil, and we have protein here. So I'm gonna pull this camera up just a little, or excuse me, I'm gonna pull this cutting board up just a tad so I can get into the camera. And we have fat and protein, right? We have an oil that slows it down. That's a fat, healthy fat. And then we have a protein that will slow it down. So this protein, this one right here has about, I think it's 20 grams of protein or something, or 16 grams of protein. And so we have that. So in our banana nut muffins that we're gonna create, we're also going to utilize chia seeds. So chia seeds are a healthy fat. So is flaxseed meal. I recommend, like, if you're going to use flaxseed meal, be careful with that because it has, it's a natural laxative. So if you have already bowel issues, kind of pump the brakes on that. But it is high fiber. So watch how much you use on the flaxseed. Just shake a little bit, like a teaspoon in your oatmeal or something. Today, though, we're going to use chia seeds. And how we make chia seeds, how we make this magic happen. I'm going to get a bowl out here. We're just going to move right into the recipe. And in this, I'm going to, in my bowl, I'm going to use 3 tablespoons. Now, the ratio is 3 tablespoons. So for every tablespoon of chia seed, this is rich in ALA, for every tablespoon here, we do 3 tablespoons of water. So 3 times 3 is 9, right? Everybody can see that there. So we have 3, 6. This is a tablespoon and a half. That's why it's like, why I'm measuring it that way. So after you have it done there, then you want to stir it, and it's going to rest and allow that fat to kind of form. And it's going to push it out. The ALA will come out. You put this in your yogurt, right? So guess what? This slows down sugars. So if you don't want nuts, then you're fine with just using a chia seed, let's say. And then I would add a little cloves to that and a little allspice, a little more for those flavors. It's going to get a little noisy in here because I am going to smash this banana. All right? You can just punch this banana. When I interrupt the banana like that in such a way that it, so when you punch at it, it's going to change the chemical composition, allowing more sugars to push out. This one is already forming. So this banana could be literally green, about, and I can still change the chemical composition of that green banana into a more sugary banana by punching it to death. And so you don't need to wait till it turns brown in order to use it, because that is a lot of sugar. So we don't want to wait till this turns brown. I don't even own brown bananas. Matter of fact, yeah, these are the ripest you'll get. We'll eat these bananas over the weekend. All right, so we punch it. I'm just gonna punch it there. Get a board if you want. Whatever makes you feel good. Punching that. Opening it up. Okay, we have us a banana that's been smashed to bits. From there, I'm just going to put it into my mixing bowl. Here. Comes right out. Now bananas are really cool because they are great to get egg off your countertop. So you would actually just use the inside of this rind here, And if you have a stubborn egg yolk on your countertop you can't get off, just flip it over and scrub away and it'll come right off. The high potassium levels break down fats. So that is why bananas are good to burn belly fat too. Awesome. All right, with the yogurt, you can use the coconut yogurt if you want to make this a vegan. This Fage does contain milk. However, when you're working with yogurt, I recommend that Fage because it cooks best. It doesn't break down and change the bacterias into unhealthy. So some, they have like 3 or 4. This one, I think it has 5 or 6. So the live yogurt cultures, the cool thing is that that they can withstand the heat that I apply them to in this muffin, whereas other yogurts don't. It's a scientific back. You can look on Science Direct. There's some food science white papers on it as well. That also, so therefore with the vegan style, I would use coconut. Okay. Here I'm going to do this. Do 5. So half of one left there. All right. And then we're going to mix it. So you want to take that spatula and mash it down. Really get it in there. And we're going to make this super smooth. Once I get it smooth, and then my chia seeds will be ready. Another thing we want to get ready as well, and I'm going to demonstrate here in just a second, is our apple cider vinegar and almond milk. We have to get that almond milk to curdle. I am going to get a cup of almond milk and our apple cider vinegar. Here is our Pyrex. There. Now, someone turned me on the other day, which is super cool, to, which I'll put in the description box, about it. Something on Amazon that makes almond milk, oat milk, soy milk. It was cashew milk. It was super cool, and I'm super excited about it. And it was awesome. Because I was like, what? And it saves me money? Because, all these milks and stuff are so expensive. They can get pretty crazy. I was like, I'm sorry, how much do you want me to pay for almond milk or oat milk? I'm like, so it's 1 cup. And then I'm going to use apple cider vinegar to curdle that and let that rest. Okay. You're going to start seeing it curdle. You don't stir it, okay? Just keep it just like that. Here's our chia seed. And if you notice here, it's starting to form nicely. Look at that. This is our egg substitute. Flaxseed meal is the other egg substitute. Now, if someone has a diverticulitis situation, you would need to probably use the seeds can irritate the diverticulitis. You want to go kind of watch that. But this is our egg. And we're going to place 3 tablespoons of chia, because that would equal about 2 eggs if we were going to use when substituting. Oh, the other one is garbanzo beans. So if you have diverticulitis, you can crush up garbanzo beans. I mean, if you just have the can of garbanzo beans, organic, super awesome. Do that. And that's also an egg substitute. And I do 2 tablespoons of garbanzo bean. And since we already have, you want to do the yogurt and the bananas, a lot of liquid, then you would use a tablespoon and a half of the aquifer, which is the juice, the chickpea juice. And those are your egg substitutes. And of course, chickpeas are great, right? Because what do they have? Protein. What does protein do? Slow down the sugars. Super cool. I'm geeking out, and you're gonna see me geek out on food. It's redonkulous what I geek out on. All right. All right, with this, I have to, okay. I was just thinking, like, is my phone on silent? But it is pretty early in the morning that I'm at a particular place that, all right, now, here we are with our liquids. We have the 1 banana, 3 tablespoons of chia seeds. Our almond milk is starting to curdle. We have 1 cup of almond milk with 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar, right? Now I have my coconut oil. I'm going to do 2 tablespoons of the coconut oil. All right. We have 5 tablespoons of the Greek yogurt. Okay. Notice I haven't put the flour yet together, but I'm going to show you how. I'm going to use pea protein on this one with white rice. Of course, you want a different mixing bowl. Always make sure your mixing bowls are dry, super dry. Sometimes I've been known to put them in the oven to dry them because I want to make sure they're really dry for the recipe. And they cool down pretty quickly, so it's not a big deal. Okay. Beautiful. You can tell I've stabbed it a couple of times. That's all right. I'm going to do, after I do the flour, I'm going to do the walnuts. I'm going to crush the walnuts after I put the flours together. Now, our total flour that we need is 2 cups. With the graininess, I recommend that you use like a chickpea flour if you don't want to use a pea protein, and you want to, of course, sift it because there's a lot, from the grain or oats or what have you. It will come through that you don't want in your recipe, in the final product. All right. I'm going to do 1 cup, even 1 cup there, and this is a half a cup right here. Get that all in there. The last thing I want to do is, actually I want to get another flour. My other flour, I'm going to do a half a cup of chickpea. So I have pea protein and chickpea. The reason why I'm doing this is these 2, because I have one that's super light, very light, grainy, fluffy. I mean, not fluffy, but very light to touch, right? And the other one has a more of a heavier weight. See, look, see what this right here? That's just part of the milling, right? So that was in the flour, which is just part of the husk. Hello. All right. See, notice how I just go back and forth instead of going around because it'll just pop out. So I just go back and forth with that. See how much is left? That's what's left on those oats. Or the chickpeas, excuse me. that's from now. Now, here we are. Next, from here, I have my active pieces. That is the baking powder, which is going to make it nice and fluffy. Salt and cinnamon. Excuse me, salt and baking soda. So I have a half a teaspoon of each on those. Okay, I just like to put a little air to it. Now, I am a person that goes ahead, I go ahead and wrap up my flour right after I use it. I wrap it and put it away, okay? Because I don't want anything to pop over into it that will get it wet. That's bad. All right, cinnamon on here. If you decide that you want a couple of flavors, just remember that when you go, oh, but I want allspice and cloves. Well, all right, so we talked about cloves. Cool. Now cloves, you have to remember, what is it? It's a warm, pungent, spicy, sweet. It's good with apple cider, okay? So think of that apple-y, right? So it has that crisp kind of tanginess to it. Whereas allspice, and cloves also is an orange substitute that I use, okay? So if someone has an allergy to oranges, I'll substitute that for cloves. Then we have allspice that's cinnamon. It tastes like a combination of cinnamon, clove, and nutmeg. So you don't want to overpower the dish with the two. Like, I want cinnamon and cloves and then allspice. Sometimes I'll do that and a very pinch of allspice, but I don't include nutmeg, okay? Because then that would kind of mess with those. So with this, I'll do a half on the cinnamon, and then I'm going to do an eighth on the cloves. It doesn't take much at all. And I'll do an eighth on the allspice. All right, so doing the math, right? So that gives it a fourth. So I did a half and a fourth, which is 3/4, and I need a full teaspoon, right? So then we're going to get, I'm going to grab a fourth more of cinnamon. When you do substitutions, you got to remember the math part of it, because you don't want too much of dry in association with the wet, or it won't do right. All right? Okay. From here, I'm going to create a well. It will change. Your recipe will flop, because this is about science. It's precision. Very important. So we've curdled. You got it on the bottom. You kind of can see that, but when I see how it kind of clumps out, kind of see that? That's what we did. We cut it with the vinegar. You can do that with, like citrus, with, lemon, with tomatoes. You cut the earth tones, or you cut the fat, lemon, so on and so forth. It's that acidic. We're cutting to create a fluffiness in this recipe. We don't want it heavy. We don't want it to look and taste like a flat pancake, right? When you are mixing this particular recipe, you want the wet to go into the dry. If we're using a mixer, the dry would slowly be mixed with the wet. Pour it in the center. Take the spatula, get that stuff in it, just like that. All right? And then you turn. Make sure your oven is 350 degrees. We're going to cook this for about 15 minutes, 15 to 20. And then you'll test it. And then from there, you add 2 to 4 minutes, depending on your oven. You know your oven as to what would work. Okay? That's what we want right there. And it continues to have this beautiful. Now, I will say this, those activators of the baking powder, baking soda, and salt, how you can tell if you've added it, or like, did I add that? I can't remember. what it does, it starts to activate, it starts actually creating this fluff already to it. If you didn't, it would actually still look kind of liquidy, more liquidy and heavier. See how that's already coming together? Almost like if I was going to make bread. It's considering we're making muffins, right? And that's what's happening. Now, another thing that I do for my carrot cake recipe is actually use sweet potatoes. I use sweet potatoes, and instead of, because it has rich in vitamin B, it's got nutrients, I use the skin, I use the inside, because carrots are highest in sugar. Even though they're good, they're just, because there's so many sugars in carrot cake, like brown sugar, I substitute that to decrease the sugars, increase a little bit of the protein. Now, just like I put this Ziploc, see, I just showed two different ways. I was like crushing it, but this is easier. Less mess. Then you want to flip it over, because it's more crushed on the bottom. Your PSI. And you're done. Add it into, mix it in. You don't need to sing while you do it. Or you can, I don't care. You sing, you do your own thing. You do you. All right, we have these little guys right here. I've got coconut oil there. Now, you can spray, or you can just take your little finger and just take that coconut oil and wrap it around instead of using spray, just so it's easy to get off the paper, just like this. This is what I do. Now, for when I'm teaching a class, I don't stick my finger in there. I use a spray. I use a mister. It contains refined olive oil, which is a high smoke point, meaning it's not salad dressing like unrefined, which is 80 degrees. So there is a difference. I use an ice cream scoop. Ice cream scoops are amazing because I can do really fast, and it's 1 scoop per muffin, which is a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun because it's so less work. Instead of the 2-spoon method, what? No thanks. All right. I have more, so this recipe makes 12 large muffins or 24 those mini muffins. I hope you have enjoyed this class, and if so, just give me a thumbs up that you want more information like it, and I will give you my little class notes in the description below, plus the recipe, and I will do this again. I'm about to go do my podcast, Grit and Grind. It is mind, body, and soul food. So I'm very busy today on this beautiful Saturday. I hope that everyone has a blessed day. Thank you for joining me. I don't know if it